I was immediately as cold as those garments were, and as cold as the ice I was skating on. Smells like a goalie is just not a catchphrase. It's really true. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's that retired guy who's lived through the 60s twice and is still having fun. Today we're going to talk about keeping goalie gear in the house. Now, years ago I had a condo with a second bedroom and the gear just pretty much took over. When we bought our first house, real house, there was a small closet in between the garage and the living area, and I was able to put my gear in there. I punched through a little hole into the garage to make an exhaust fan, and things were okay. Recently, though, we downsized, and I started keeping my stuff on hooks in the garage. The unheated, uninsulated, detached garage. What could go wrong? In the summer, the stuff was so warm, it was like wearing a fur coat on the ice. I started sweating on the first play. But it's the winters here in Chicagoland that can really do you in. There really wasn't a good way to heat that garage, so I had to deal with my undergarments and the rest of the gear pretty much freezing up. And then, if I did get the courage to put it on, I was immediately as cold as those garments were, and as cold as the ice I was skating on. Something had to give. And so I talked to my wife and I said, listen, I have to bring the stuff inside.
Oh my God, no.
She's no rookie. She knows about bag stink, and she knows the phrase, smells like a goalie, is just not a catchphrase. It's really true. Plus, the basement isn't that big, so we had to work something out. So I managed to snag this little corner of the basement, about 5 feet wide by about 7 feet long. Now, that's not as big as some, but it's a lot more space than many. What I've got to do is use the space efficiently, as well as keep the hockey smells from going to the rest of the house. Here's what I do. First, and apparently by magic, I got myself a wire rack. I didn't like the idea of having a bunch of hooks in the wall, plus I didn't like the idea of those shelves, the flat shelves that may be even made of wood or so on. For example, the shelving unit you see in the picture I'm flashing up just didn't seem to give me the airflow around the gear. Just my opinion. I thought a wire rack would be better for total airflow. Now, I got this one at Home Depot. There are certainly other ones that are more expensive or less expensive from other places online. Take a look. But this one worked for me. Let's see what I liked about it. Number one, total airflow. I keep the rack a few inches from the back wall and plenty of room on the sides. The air can go over, under, through the shelves on the rack, and I think that's very important to help the gear dry fast and dry well. Number two, it's sturdy and it was very simple to build. The 4 shelves are enough for the gear that I want to put on there, and you can put the shelves anywhere you want along the post here. It's very simple with these plastic inserts, and the shelves just push down on them. You'll notice there's a difference in between these 2 shelves. I'll show you what that does for me later. But it was a nice little piece of equipment to put together, and it was done in minutes. The third thing is that you can adjust it so these 4 posts stick up here instead of having it all the way to the top. You'll see why that's important later, because I use these as little hangers to go along with the gear. It makes this a very efficient unit. So how do I load it up? What works for me? Let's start at the bottom and we'll work up. On the bottom, I put the pants. Very simple. I've kept the shelf a few inches off the floor, again for the airflow, and I just slide them in and they just kind of lay there. They've always dried well there. By the way, these pants are about 25 years old. I do have to get new ones. On the next shelf, I keep the gloves and the mask. The mask can go in the middle. The blocker is easy enough. And the glove you can lay down flat like that. You can spread it out a little bit. Or I've put just enough space between these two shelves, and I pop the glove in sometimes just so it can continue to remain pliable and keep its shape. So that works for me. On the next shelf, I put the cup and the knee pads. Easy enough. They just slide right in. And they're facing up, of course, for drying. Now, don't skimp on knee pads. I'm showing you a picture right now, but it could be one of a million pictures of an exposed knee. A deflection could go right in there. With the way the new pads are and the way we're playing, our knees are just exposed a lot more than they ever used to be. And you get hit hard once and you're going to feel it. So spend the extra bucks and get the pro style knee pads. I got hit. This is what taught me with my old Browns. And they seemed good for a while, but once I got hit, I must have limped for a week. So these, if they're what you've got right now, get some new ones. But hang on to these. If you're ever having to do some painting or work on the carpet or so on, they're fabulous. They still keep their use. So the last thing we do is the chest protector, and obviously that goes here on top. Now it's easy enough to flop it up there. A lot of people like to hang these. First of all, I don't have a place. Second of all, I like it on the rack, again, because of the airflow above and over. If you have the little wings on the sides for the straps, make sure they're flipped out, and this thing dries just fine. It's also another trip down memory lane. This thing's easily 20 years old, held together with tape and string and probably a prayer or two. So a new one's coming one of these days, but this has been a good friend to me over the years. Okay, what do we do with the pads? Easy enough. I keep them just here off to the side. They lean in and they're just fine. Sometimes they're upside down. Sometimes, as we call them, they're right side up. But they stay there. They're out of the way. They lean against the rack and not really against the wall. And you've got yourself an entire rack of goalie gear. And the skates are easy as well. I have this little padded rug that I keep at the bottom here. And I just put the skates on there. I don't bang them down, obviously. And just have them out to the outside, again, for drying purposes. An additional note is the undergarments. I happen to use a Bauer top and Under Armour bottoms, but when we put the rack together and left these little posts here, that's where you can throw one on one side and one on the other. Now, I don't wash these after every use. I don't know anybody who does. So that keeps them dry. Here, they dry at the same rate as the other things, and they're done. That's how they're made, so it works out well. You still have two of these. This one can be used for your towel when you're done showering after playing. Guys, take a shower. And this, you can put your stockings, your socks, and any undergarments that you wear. And that is your wire rack. Okay, now that the rack is full, we still have a little bit of space here. Let me show you what goes in there. Appearing, again, almost like magic, is this little junky 3-shelf wooden rack that I probably got for $10 at a garage sale somewhere. But it keeps some of the ancillary stuff that I like having around. For example, it's got clean towels. Guys, take a shower. Socks. Also has jockey shorts. Now, I don't wear jockey shorts on a day-to-day basis, but I do like to wear them under my undergarments when I play. Keeps everything nice and tight where it should be, and I don't feel like I have to rearrange the furniture during a game, if you know what I'm saying. What else do we have on here? We've got some inserts for the skates. We've got some old sweaters here. Some of them are not in the rotation. Some of them are special sweaters I've had over the years. They don't fit into the arm guards anymore as they got bulkier. So I leave them there. And I do have to show you this one. I got this when I was in Germany. From the Hanover Indians hockey club there. Look at this bad boy. What a sweater. Even has those eyes down at the bottom. I got this off of eBay. It was said to be a 2XL. And clearly, this is no 2XL. I can't wear this. This is like a gown that Audrey Hepburn would wear on some movie. But isn't that quite the sweater? I can't bring myself to get rid of it yet, so I keep it around. I also have some pucks down there that I keep. They're commemorative from different cities, different games, different clubs, as well as a few of my shutout pucks from important games I played over the years. Got to keep them around, right? I've got a jacket down there that I keep for, when it's cool out, but now it's during summer, so I just leave it under there. When it gets to winter, right up here, I'll put a 3M hook and put jackets and a coat up there so I can grab when I go out. Not necessary during the summer. By the way, 3M hooks work great. They take a lot of weight and they don't leave a mark on the wall. So it's well worth a try. Last thing I've got down here is a pair of these, and some of you old timers will recognize these. Pair of long johns. Looks like something that comes out of a cowboy movie, doesn't it? Anyway, we used to wear these, and this is from my boomer days, on the rivers and ponds when it was really cold. They didn't wick away any sweat. They kept it, and by the time you were done, you were full, heavy, and exhausted. But that's my little rack, keeping a few extra things, and it works out well for me. You probably also noticed I filled in the ancillary space as well. I've got some old goal skates, Vapor size 8, that my feet changed. I've never worn them, but they're there. One of these days I'll put them up online and sell those off. One thing, speaking of skates, here's the old one, and here are new goalie skates. Quite a difference. And I don't know if you guys know this, but this skate weighs 1 pound more than this skate. So there goes my workout wearing the new skates. What can you do? I've got a spare blocker, spare stick from Germany that I've used once in 10 years when my stick cracked. I had to use this for that game that night, and then went out and bought a new one the next day, but it's there if I need it. So, and of course, I've got the stick ready to walk out the door. So that's my rack, that's my ancillary stuff. One last thing, I've got all this space here. The bag's got to go somewhere, and it's ready to pack. And that takes care of the gear. Let me show you one more thing. You do need a place to keep your sweaters. One of the things you can do, of course, is use 3M hooks to keep the sweaters around. I'm lucky enough to have an exposed ceiling, so I can put them hung from this pipe right there, and that's worked out fabulous for me. Remember, if you do that, make sure you put in one of those stanchion doohickeys on there to keep the pipe up. You don't want to find something bending, especially if it's electrical or something along those lines. But I'm able to put in all the sweaters that are in the rotation, and it's very convenient. Your hockey room, whatever it may be, wouldn't be complete with all those little spare parts that you need to have, and I just put them up here. It's nice to have a little light in the basement, and I've got this little basket to put it in there. A couple of rolls of spare tape, spare parts such as clips for the mask in case those should break, extra pieces of string for the dangler in case that comes off, and I do keep those spares in the pocket of my bag so they're ready, and there's more of those in here that I keep. You've got an extra sweatband and then some hardware for the mask itself in case some of those screws start to have problems. One last thing, Lysol. When you take your gloves off, a couple of squirts in there, each one, you'll be good to go. But always remember, take a shower. So, the last piece of the puzzle, we talked about the hockey smells. Even though I've got good ventilation, where does that go? Well, what I've got is a pure air filter machine. And I have this thing running 24 hours a day. Now, I've got it plugged in, and let's see if I turn it on. This is the second level. Can you hear that at all? Probably not. When I come home after a game, I turn it on full blast, which you can probably hear a little now, but it doesn't cause any problems in the rest of the house. And I keep that on until the next time I come in the basement, probably the next day or the day after, and then turn it back down to the middle level. But I never turn it off. It's like working at Denny's. Do they ever lock the doors there? Anyway, it's ready for a filter, and which is easy to do. You just pull out the front and pull out the fresh filter. Let me make sure that's the fresh one. It is. Take it out, push it in. This clicks back on, and you're ready for the next 6 months. So let's turn it back on. And that's the final piece of the puzzle. Okay, so that's it for the video. By the way, the concepts, the things we talked about are equally applicable to men and women. The undergarments may be different, but mostly the equipment is pretty much the same and how we take care of it. When I talked about showers, I was mostly talking to the guys. Maybe it's the boomer in me that makes you think that, you know, the guys would be most likely not to take a shower. But if I'm wrong, gals, take a shower. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. There's going to be more to come. What's in the bag and so on. If you like the video, please give me a like, share it with somebody you think might like it. And also, if you liked it and think that you might enjoy more of this content on all sorts of subjects, please give me a subscribe down below, give it a click, and again, share it with anybody you think might like it. This is that retired guy who's lived through the 60s twice and is still having fun. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you again soon.